And here in Germany, lawmakers have voted in favor of a plan to protect the Constitutional Court from extremist meddling. The cross-party proposals call for the formation of the court, retirement rules and term lengths for judges to be enshrined in the Constitution. The initiative comes in response to fears that an authoritarian party could soon gain enough power to interfere with the judiciary.
There's a sense of urgency inside the German parliament these days. Elections are around the corner and populist parties are on course to do well. Now lawmakers want to fortify what they say is a weak link in the foundations of their democracy.
We are a stable democracy, but to ensure that it stays that way, we should make this amendment to the basic law in order to secure our democracy even better against enemies of the Constitution.
It's not about insurrectionist mobs like that seen in the US. It's about the Constitutional Court. Some in Germany fear attacks on the judiciary, like those seen in Poland and Hungary, could soon happen here. Why does Germany need this now? It's worked well for the last 75 years.
We see in other countries that there are two main lines of attack by right-wing populists and right-wing extremists. One is the free press and the other is the independent judiciary, which is why you have to expect that, if there is any possibility, they will try to damage the court.
Man versuchen wird, hier das Gericht zu beschädigen.
Even though the tasks of the top court are enshrined in the Constitution or basic law, important provisions about how it works are not. For example, term lengths for judges, the retirement age, or the procedure for appointing judges are set by an Act of Parliament. That means they can be changed by a simple majority. Under the new plan, those provisions would be enshrined in the basic law, which requires a two-thirds majority to change.
This is a high hurdle to ensure that the tried and tested structures of the Constitutional Court are maintained.
That's to stop a party like the far-right Alternative for Germany interfering with the courts.
Ich widerspreche auch diesem Ordnungsruf. Sie meine Rede nicht. Ich erteile Ihnen einen zweiten Ordnungsruf.
Lawmakers point to the AfD's recent alleged attempts to subvert the rules in the state parliament of Thuringia as evidence of their intentions. The AfD, who are classified as a suspected case of right-wing extremism by security services, say the proposal is unnecessary.
The AfD naturally speaks out against this because, as we recently saw in Erfurt, it uses every opportunity to make democratic state institutions look bad.
Interfering with the top court would go beyond making institutions look bad, which is why lawmakers backing these new safeguards will hope they are never needed.
RDW's political correspondent Julia Saudelli is standing by for us in the German Bundestag. Julia, the Parliament has voted, and it's Germany's right-wing AfD party that is one of the reasons this vote is happening. Is this result a blow to them?
Well, I wouldn't say it is a blow directly to them because the party hasn't explicitly said that it wants to touch the Constitutional Court in the way that the other parties fear it might. But certainly we know that the AfD was against the approval of this measure that is explained by some members of the party because they see this reform as threatening the rights of the opposition, but generally it is hard even for a party like the AfD, which in parts has been classified as extremist, to just blatantly be against safeguarding a constitutional court. So they have been saying that this reform is unnecessary. They say the constitutional court is already protective enough and that there aren't any explicit attempts to want to threaten its independence and its structures. So what they say is that this reform wasn't really needed.
Explain to us, why is the German Constitutional Court so important in this country?
Well, also in an international comparison, the Constitutional Court in Germany has quite a big amount of power. It decides whether laws that are approved respect Germany's constitution, Germany's basic law, and even laws that have been approved by the German parliament can be deemed unconstitutional, and they are then declared null by the constitutional court. And we've seen that happen also in the recent months and years with the government that has been in power. Currently, Olaf Scholz's government, and the Constitutional Court can also declare a party unconstitutional and basically ban the party from existing, from being in the parliament, but also in general from carrying out political activity. And this is something that makes it important for the majority of the parties in the German parliament to protect the work of the Constitutional Court. Until now, this was the structures and how judges are elected were only regulated in a parliamentary act, and when it will now be in the Constitution, these structures, that will mean that only a two-third majority can change these provisions, which makes it obviously harder, and that it can only happen when there is broad agreement among the parties in parliament.
Now, what's next?
What's next? The law is now approved in the Bundestag, in the lower chamber of parliament. It now has to go to the upper chamber, the Bundesrat, which is mostly represented by leadership of the German federal states. There too, because it is a change to the constitution, a two-third majority is needed, but the parties expect to be able to reach that majority, and once the reform is approved also in the Bundesrat, it can then come into force.
DW's political correspondent Julia Sardelli there, reporting from Germany's Bundestag. Thank you very much, Julia.